This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Next up, we've got Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel getting a win over Santino, Marella, and Vladimir Kozlov to win the tag titles in 5 minutes and 7 seconds. Kozlov would tag in, go to power slam Gabriel, but Gabriel is tagged by Slater before being slammed. And then Slater clips Kozlov from behind and uses a reverse DDT on him. He tags in Gabriel, who gets the pin after a 450. Star and a quarter. Boy, no disrespect to these performers, but there's a spot for the tag titles, but not for the U.S. champion of Daniel Bryan versus Ted DiBiase. Again, it just shows you, man, they just didn't have any confidence in Daniel Bryan. Interesting cast and crew here. Vladimir Kozlov, I think you and I have talked about a little bit before, how the office stopped and started and cut his water off. Santino Marella, though, a legit badass in real life, became one of the great comedy figures, and I have a feeling that he tickled you.
It is. I love Santino. And it was a ha-ha deal. You know, they didn't need the titles. They didn't need to be associated with the titles.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, remember plug in your memory banks. In those days, tag teams were not looked at as being a necessity.
Right.
Anything but. That's 4 sets of trans. That's all it was. And they weren't being pushed. It was just like a novelty. It was like the 24/7 title is right now. What does it really mean?
Nothing.
Zero. No disrespect. Truth. Truth's an entertaining son of a gun. Great guy.
Doug Flutie had it last. I don't know. By the time this airs, who knows? But yeah.
By now, Doug Flutie's grandmother's probably the champion. Who knows?
We've talked a little bit about Justin Gabriel. Of course, he's PJ Black with Ring of Honor these days. And our man Heath Slater is now over on Impact Wrestling. He's rehabbing a little bit of an injury, but he'll be back. I wanted to talk a little bit about Heath here, though, because I read something the other day on social that I thought, man, I gotta ask Arn about that. I think it was Dolph Ziggler who referred to Heath Slater as being the most beloved person who was ever in a WWE locker room, as far as the way his comrades, his co-workers felt about him. What was it about Heath Slater that all the boys in the back loved?
Because he is a redneck from West Virginia, much in the vein of Jamie Noble, who's just a good, honest guy. And it's not lost on Heath that he is able to live his dream, that he's actually in the wrestling business and he wants to contribute. With him, it's not having a title and making the most money. He just wants to get out there and perform. And one of the things, just to tell you how Heath is, when Heath came up with that, I've got kids.
Yeah.
And it flamed up.
Yeah.
We as a company should have jumped on it and pushed it because he is a guy that has kids and his wife and his children. That's his life.
Right.
Wrestling is his job, and he's an honest guy. Heath Slater is the kind of guy that at 4 a.m, if you broke down 200 miles from where he was at 4 a.m, and you called him and said, Heath, I'm broke down. Can you come get me? He would crawl out of the bed, get in his car, and come get you. And that's one of those signs that somebody will do that for you. Man, that's a straight up, honest blessing to the business. And that's the guy that they love. I would put Brody Lee up there with him as far as being beloved in the industry. And it's like Slater never said a bad thing about anybody, to my knowledge. And he's just one of those rare deals. It's like Jerry Lynn, who works for AEW. He's the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Agree.
You spend 10 minutes around Jerry Lynn. If you had the flu or you were sick or you broke your knee yesterday, hell, you feel good after that conversation because he's such an honest guy. I'll give you an example. The other day I said, who you pulling for in the Super Bowl, Jerry? And he went, When is the Super Bowl? Well, this about 3 days away. Well, I don't even know who's in the Super Bowl. I said, Jerry, come on, man, that's un-American. He says, well, my wife will have some stuff for me to do when I get home. I may not get to watch it anyway. And he wasn't haggard about it. That's just who he is.
That's funny.
Awesome guy. Same thing with Slater.
Let's talk about the dark match. I kind of glossed over that. I shouldn't have. The United States champion, Daniel Bryan, is the dark match. He gets a win over Ted DiBiase. Can you imagine? In 3 years, this guy's going to be winning everything at WrestleMania. And here he is on a pay-per-view as U.S. champ, not even on the main card. The office just didn't know what they had in Daniel Bryan at the time, did they?
They wouldn't trust anybody else's opinion or believe what they saw. It was still too small, too bland. Sometimes, you can't see the trees for the forest, as the saying goes. This was one of those major situations.
After the match, Del Rio hits the ring and puts Edge in the armbar, and then Christian returns and makes the save. He gets the usual big reaction for a surprise run-in. And Meltzer would say, unlike most angles of this type that are used to explain surgeries and then long forgotten when it should be a payoff, they did bring up the storyline that it was actually Del Rio's armbar that led to Christian's surgery. The referees pull Christian off, but he breaks free and lays out Del Rio with the kill switch. So it's pretty nice to see a nice little post-match angle here and a cool return for Christian, which we just saw at the Royal Rumble. Are you surprised to see Christian back in the ring in 2021?
Not really. And as he showed, he can still go.
Yeah.
You look at age, and it's relative. And in this industry, if you've been off for a while, very few people could have pulled off what Christian did. To me, he looked just like he always looked. And he came down and he was effective and he did some good stuff. And if he's healthy enough, he can contribute. But I would say there's not a lot of guys that could take the amount of time that he did off at the age he is and come back and do what he did. So, we shouldn't take it with a grain of thought. We should look at it and go, that was pretty spectacular.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.